Nancy.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Sandra.
I'm Brendan,
I'm Courtney.
and this is our group and what we've been doing for the last 10 weeks.
So there's multiple problems with eyewitness testimonies, and according to this chart, eyewitness misidentification is the leading cause of wrongful conviction compared to other causes, and that's even over unvalidated or improper forensic science, false confessions, or wrongful informant testimony. So the eyewitness misidentification is the top cause for people being wrongfully convicted, which is pretty crazy to think about. And then this chart shows the forgetting curve between memory and time elapsed since the event. So the longer the time since the witness saw the crime, the more their memory fades and the more inaccurate their memory becomes, just because they were forgetting the details of what they saw. So we're going over a lot of current research, as we were researching this topic. And according to two studies done by Pickle in 1999 and Haber in 2000, misled witnesses don't intentionally deceive or fabricate details of a crime, but they're really susceptible to new information that is coming in post-event. So post-witnessing the crime, they're really open to suggestions that might be coming in from law enforcement or whoever else is dealing with the witness at the time. According to activation theory and cognitive psychology, words and language can be understood to be linked to each other, within a neural net. So one word on a page can prime retrieval of similar concepts, and which leads to the potential for false memories, because that word may not have anything to do with what actually happened. And increased visual distraction during retrieval leads to the impairment of long-term recall of both auditory and visual details of the event. So the more visual distraction you have going on around you, when you're trying to remember something, that's going to have an impact in how accurate your memory is regarding what you're trying to recall. And witnesses' responses and their confidence in those responses can be contaminated by the environmental distractions that are introduced during the retrieval process. So when law enforcement are questioning them, they can introduce a lot of environmental distractions that may have a negative influence on memory recall, and the observers themselves can't fully eliminate that potential for distraction. And even a lot of times with eyewitnesses, they'll go back in and they'll question them, law enforcement will question them multiple times. And evidence suggests through research that even the most tiniest little pieces of the information regarding the crime that is recalled during those repeated questioning sessions may be highly suspect and highly inaccurate, because each time the memory is fading. So each time the law enforcement is going back in and questioning them again, it's having an effect on the accuracy. False memories can also be constructed based on racial bias, gender bias, age bias, so that's a big issue too, in law enforcement, and emotional status. So if someone's really stressed out, they might have a more difficult time retrieving the accurate details of the crime. So for our research question, we sought to shed light on the question of how different types of question formats, so open-ended versus closed-ended, affect the accuracy of eyewitness testimony. And the research that we looked to for inspiration for this suggested open-ended questions will lead to higher accuracy of memory recall. So thus confirming the idea that the way in which the questions are actually asked make a huge difference regarding the correctness of their responses. Possibly due to the type of content that is asked, and also the centrality of information, regarding the central or the peripheral nervous system. So And our hypothesis was, so like we're elaborating on the relationship between the types of questions asked of eyewitnesses and the accuracy of their memory recall. And our hypothesis is, like, according to the research, participants who are asked open-ended questions on a questionnaire will have a higher rate of accuracy due to the true details regarding, like, the crime than the participants who were given, like, a questionnaire that was asking close-ended questions. And, like, we expect that the open, like, ended questions will, like, prompt, like, the participants to, like, more like accurately recall rather than like being suggested something through like close-ended questions and then like construing like false memories out of that. And in recall tasks, like, individuals often use more elaborative and effortful cognitive strategies in order to draw conclusions about an event that was witnessed. So, like, when few or no alternatives are easily available, like in close-ended questions.
For our methods section, we had our experimental design. It had I'll just stand up here actually. Back. We had an independent and dependent variable, as all experiments do. Our independent variable was the type of question that our participants will be answering. It's either going to be an open-ended or closed-ended. That relates the most to our operational variable, which is also the question type. Our dependent variable is the accuracy of the memory recall. So how the participants do on the test, that's our dependent variable. And that runs along with our conceptual variable, which is also memory recall. Participants that we had for our study were North Central College students. They were either enrolled in PSY255 or PSY100 in winter of 2018. They signed up on SONA for credits required for each of their psych courses. Our materials, we had an experimental script, a consent form, a debriefing form, a open and closed-ended questionnaire, and the video that we would show. For the experimental script, it was only made for the group. It was pretty much made for group members only, just to read. It was made just in case anyone would like freeze up, someone just forgot their lines, anything like that. So if anyone like in front of the participants like forgot what they were going to say, they would be able to pick up the experimental script and just run the experiment smoothly without any issues. Our consent form and debriefing form. For the consent form, it was passed out at the beginning of each experiment. It explained the directions of the experiment. It was essential that each participant signs it for them to continue in our study. We did not have any issues with anyone not signing the consent form. For the debriefing form, that was given out at the end of each experiment. It was made to clear up all questions that participants might have. It tells everyone the purpose of the experiment and who to contact if they have any questions about the results, why we were doing it, and so forth. The crime questionnaires, the open-ended one, it's more of a short answer type of questionnaire. It had 10 questions about the video. It was asking anywhere from between what color shirts that they saw, how many items or accessories they saw in the video. And it also was, it showed a little bit more of you could have had more of a broad, different kinds of answers. For the closed-ended, it's it's more of a true-false or a multiple choice type of questionnaire, which asked you to answer a specific yes or no. If the participants answered no, they had to provide an alternative answer that they believed was the correct answer. For the video, the scene was a simulated crime. The short clip showed two females. Oh, there it is. As you can see here, there's two females conversing. Then you see someone enter from the right side of the screen, and oh my God, they steal the purse. Now, this is a simulated crime. I know it's really hard for you guys to believe that. The short clip was only 7 seconds long. The suspect/thief was a blonde female that looked just like the other ones. our procedure, participants would enter the classroom at the same time. We had them all wait out in the hallway, then we'd bring them in at the same time once the experiment started. After the introduction of who we all were as a group, we then passed out the consent form. Everyone then filled out the consent form, signed and agreed. We then collected the consent form, turned off the lights, and then we showed them the video that you guys just saw. After we showed the video, we turned the lights back on. We passed out the specific style questionnaire that might have been specific to that session. And then after that, participants filled out the questionnaire. We collected them. And then they were given the debriefing form, where then they were allowed to ask us any questions, and then they were free to leave.
So to restate our hypothesis, we expected to find that participants who were asked open-ended questions are more likely to accurately recall the crime being committed than those who were asked closed-ended questions. An independent t-test was conducted to compare the means of both of the types of questions. So the mean for the open-ended was a mean of 6, and for the closed-ended it was a mean of 5.944. Yet a t-test did not demonstrate this difference to be statistically significant. To be statistically significant, the p-value has to be less than 0.05, and our p-value was 0.908. Because of these findings, this experiment failed to demonstrate a significant effect the type of question asked, open-ended or closed-ended, on memory recall.
So our findings suggest that closed-ended questions had no statistical difference on altering states of memory recall, and the type of question is clinically unimportant. Some of the limitations that we had a small sample size. It was psychology students in a mostly liberal college. There was no resting period between viewing the video and answering the questionnaire, where typically after viewing a crime, there is a grace period between interviewing. Lower levels of stress than those that have actually witnessed a crime. So, they weren't put in any harm or danger, so their ability to recall was greater. The duration of the video was within the time frame of working memory. As Brendan said, it was 7 seconds. And the perpetrator was of the same race as the majority of participants, which allowed for better recognition. Further studies would need to work with a larger, more diverse population. They would most likely have to provide a longer and more in-depth video or in-person witnessing. There should be a delay given between witnessing the crime and being questioned about the crime, and more detailed questions to allow participants to think more comprehensively.
So we were interested in the subject of this experiment because of the importance that eyewitness accuracy has to justice. The topic is important to resolving crimes and has led to much research about memory recall of crimes. This research led us to hypothesize that closed-ended questions would significantly decrease eyewitness accuracy, but our results did not agree with the research. Instead, we learned important lessons about why this might have been the case. We learned that many factors can affect the design of experiments which test memory recall. In our case, the following factors would be good to adjust in future studies: sample size, participant diversity, video content and format, questionnaire content and format, participant stress level. Overall, our study has made us appreciate the complexity of memory recall and the conditions that can